Okay, welcome everybody. In this week's video we'll be discussing the part you see before you. We will only be discussing two of the most difficult parts in creating the actual part. We won't show you step by step how the part's created. For this assignment you need to figure this out by yourself, and we also will provide you with the final part, so if you run into any problems you can always look at the final part to see how the actual part is created. We will be showing two things. We'll show you how to create this bottom end here, which is hovering where there actually is no plane, and we'll show you how to create an extra plane to create the extra items. If you look at my left, you can see I'm going to do rollback here to a previous version. Here I've added a plane, and I've added the plane to actually create this revolve. I'll show you the sketch. So this sketch revolves around this line, creating this chamfered cut extrude, which is then mirrored to the other side. So we've also used the mirror feature here. Now let's remove this again, because I'm going to show you how to add it again later. Now, as you can see, we've created this bottom end, but it's not entirely at the bottom. It's centered with an offset. So if you look at your sketch, you can see it's at the bottom. But you can also see my boss extrude hovers above my sketch. Well, how is this done? Well, you simply just create the sketch on whichever face you have available. In this case, it was only this face. Then you finish your sketch, you go to your boss extrude, and normally this is set on sketch plane. So as you can see now it's normal, it goes upward, but if I set this to offset and set it to 5 millimeters, then my boss extrude, which is 14 millimeters here, is offsetted by 5 millimeters in this direction, which you can also switch using this button. So using this feature I can offset the final extrude to create this bottom end. Now, how to enter a plane. Normally we have 3 planes available, and usually for most parts this is sufficient. But if it isn't, we can also select all the flat faces we have in our part. But if this isn't enough and we still want to add another cut extrude, for instance we need to make a cut extrude here, and there is no flat face here. There's also no plane because all the planes are here, and one place is in the part where we need to make the revolve. So we started with this revolve, so that automatically all our planes are in the center. So this causes a problem if we want to create a cut extrude here. Unless of course it's on this face, then we wouldn't have a problem because this is a flat face. Plus all the other faces are round, and that causes issues. But Solidworks has a feature for that. We go to insert, we go to reference geometry, we go to plane. And here we can create our own 2D plane, and on this 2D plane we can then create a sketch again, and from the sketch we can create an extrude. So we're going to go to plane, and as always the sketch needs to be fully defined, so plane also needs to be fully defined, because if the plane is fully defined, then the sketch that starts from that plane can also be created fully defined. If your plane is not fully defined, then your sketch is automatically not fully defined, and well, that's simply not possible. It's not possible to create a plane which is not fully defined. Now, in order to create a plane, we need to select 3 references. So we could select a couple of points, so one there, and for instance one there, and then we can create another point, select this one, and then it will create a plane through those 3 points. So that's one option. It's not the option we're going to use now, so we're going to delete everything again. What we're going to do now is click open this little plus button here, which will get back our feature manager, and we're going to add a plane, same as the right plane, but then with an offset, so that it's right in the center of this hole here. So we're going to add another plane which is parallel to our previous plane, and for our second reference we're going to select this line. As you know from the 2D drawing, this line starts right at the top, so I know this line is right on the top of my circle, so I can select that line and it will add this plane. As you can see, if I say I want a same plane as the front plane, parallel to that, and a certain distance, and the distance is shown by this edge, it will automatically be fully defined. You can see I have some more options here which should be pretty familiar. Perpendicular, to make sure it's angled 90 degrees. I can make it coincident. And then I should select another reference here if I want to create coincident. I can select a distance. If I have a distance, I don't need the second option. I can just add a distance. I can even add multiple planes if I wanted to. I have a lot of options to add extra planes. But for now, let's just select parallel and select this line. Click on OK. Now, once I've done that, I can pretty much create a sketch on this plane. So I can just go to Sketch, click on this plane, again click Normal to, and then I can just draw. I can just create my sketch. Well, I'm not going to show you the entire process because you should be familiar with that at this time. So let's delete this. Let's do a rollback. So I've created one cut revolve here. So again, it's the same as a revolve, only if I go to features, instead of selecting the revolve option, I select the revolved cut option here. Now I create my sketch from the dimensions given in the drawing. Only haven't entered the 90 degrees dimension. I've made that 45 in this case, because I want to make a revolve here. So I could add the 90 degrees option and add a 180 degree revolve, but this option is a little bit better. Now, what I should also note is I have extended the sketch to the outside of this cylinder. If I make this line pierce this circle with a relation, then I get an error message and cannot create the cut extrude. The cut revolve should extend all the way down outside the cylinder. So I've made it a little bit longer, made it 10 millimeters to make that happen. What I've done then is I've added a mirror feature, which is really easy. Let me just show you that. So let's do a rollback. Go to the pattern option. There's also a mirror here. I can select a plane first, which is this plane because it's right in the middle, and then just click on the face from the feature. As you can see, you get a preview here, full preview, and then it's mirrored, and that's basically it. Now let's remove this again and let's do a complete rollback to go back to a final part. Now I should also mention some of the fillets seem a little bit odd compared to the 2D drawing that's given. So if you switch back to the view without lines, the parts looks a lot closer to the thing which is depicted into the drawing. Some of the fillets seem a little bit large compared to the way they are in the drawing. For instance, this fillet is 8 and the dimension is given for 8 millimeters, but if I switch it back to 5, it looks a lot closer to how it is in the drawing. So there's a little bit of discrepancy there, but I think it's just related to the drawing. It actually states that this fillet is 8 millimeters instead of 5, and we always use the dimension value, so let's just change this back to 8. So this is a difficult drawing to do. Keep that in mind. It will take you quite some time, but this is why it is the most difficult assignment there is. So it's not a real easy drawing or model to create. Now what you can see here is that I just changed the dimension and I get a little stoplight sign here. This is what we call a rebuild. So it hasn't added the changes yet. So if I click on this stoplight here, right at the bottom, then it adds the changes. So if you ever get a stoplight, add it to one of your features or sketches, just click this little button here and it will add the changes. Keep in mind that when clicking on this button you can get some errors because your changes can conflict other dimensions or other features, and it can cause issues. Now, so today we have shown you how to add a plane and how to add an offset extrude feature. Now you should be able to create the entire part pretty easily on your own.